First off, congrats to Duke men's basketball for winning the 2K championship benefiting the Wounded Warriors Project. Duke beat a tough and strong Georgetown team by 2 points to capture the victory, so that's awesome. Unfortunately, Twitter and social media have been abuzz about how badly Duke's playing. 4-1 start, not so bad. Yeah, we lost to Kentucky, bragging rights and all that, but we also beat a really good Georgetown team, a really good VCU team, teams that were physically more mature than Duke, teams that Duke maybe should have lost to and very well could have lost to, had to come back in both of those games. So considering all that, Duke's played a pretty hard schedule. 4-1's not so bad. So everyone, all the fatalists, all the pessimists, calm your nerves. It's going to be a ride like that this year. It's a young team, physically young as well as mentally young. So we got a little spoiled. Let's just chill, see what happens, enjoy the ride. Again, both of those games were tough games. Duke did lose by 11 against Kentucky, double digits, but considering how badly Duke played, we're kind of lucky that it was only 11. Duke's a team that's still trying to figure out how to get both Brandon Ingram and Luke Kennard off in these games. Neither are shooting very well, but they're shooting badly for different reasons. Kennard's, obviously a good shooter, needs 1 or 2 games under his belt where he can see the ball go in. He'll break out of it eventually. But he isn't making mistakes. I saw a stat on Twitter today that said that in 96 minutes he has zero turnovers. So he's not compounding his bad shooting by making mistakes, and that's a really important stat for him. Ingram clearly has some physical hurdles he has to overcome, operating basically with the size of a power forward in height, but the weight of like a guard. I mean, he's obviously physically overmatched each time he goes into the paint. Basically, really only being able to score on one-on-one moves and occasionally the mid-range jumper. So it's going to be a problem for him going forward. Hopefully, Duke can figure out how to get him some looks where he's not physically overmatched. Sort of like a running back in space. They need to get him off, but off in an area where he can actually make these shots. His perimeter skill set obviously is great for Duke when they're running the 2-3 zone or the 1-3-1 zone with he or with Emil at the top of that zone. It's been working pretty well for Duke. They're getting deflections. Hopefully they can get him out on the break. He made a couple of mistakes on the break last game, but hopefully they can get him out there and get him some good looks. What was good to see in the Georgetown game was Grayson, and actually also in the VCU game, Grayson actually being able to use his mid-range game. Obviously against Kentucky, he was trying to go full force into the lane, dunking over 7-footers. That's not going to happen at the college level for him. But it was good to see him get some shots in the middle of the lane, being able to pull up, being able to take guys one-on-one, but also recognizing what the defense was giving him. That's supremely important for him going forward, especially in ACC play where he's not going to be able to just dunk over guys like he did against Siena and Bryant. Also, the evolution of Derek Thornton has been great for Duke also. Being the only true point guard on the floor has really worked out well for Duke. He is a guy that's, he is a little older than Ingram and also Kennard, but he didn't have as many years playing high school ball as those guys. Came in late to Duke, obviously, to finish up his high school career, but he's coming on strong in the last couple of games. Things are clearly different when he's on the floor. He's able to actually run the offense with a little bit more aplomb than, say, Grayson Allen or Matt Jones, who sort of needs that point guard position to help get off. So look for him to keep having a sort of a coming out party in the next few games. He's really one of the only Dukies who can hit that mid-range shot with consistency, and that's good for Duke as well. He doesn't over-penetrate. When he does get to the rim, they're good shots. He's not trying to go in physically overmatched against some of these guards. He's a young guard, so that's actually important for him going forward. Next up for Duke is Yale. Hopefully in that game we can get Kennard and Ingram off a little bit. Hopefully both have big games. Hopefully Duke can go to them sort of exclusively in the first half, maybe to get those guys going a little bit. Going to need those two going forward. Grayson isn't going to have 30-point games every game. So if any questions, obviously one says, do I smoke weed? Not lately. See what else I'm going to talk about. Any other questions about Duke basketball? Feel free. Why don't I smoke weed? Shit's expensive. Another point on Thornton is he came in with a sort of a history of having being a good defensive player, and unfortunately for him, the new rules are sort of hampering his defensive play. He is a fast guard. He can stay in front of guys pretty well, but unfortunately, with refs calling things closely now, and also the elimination of the closely guarded call, his defense is going to be sort of hampered a bit by those new rules. So hopefully, I think as the year progresses, the refs are going to start calling these things a little less closely, and he'll be able to benefit from that on the defensive level. Any other questions? Just a little update talking about Duke basketball. Any questions on recruiting? Come over and hit this L. I wish, man. I wish. Could use that right about now. All right. Well, if there are no questions left, I will. Is Robinson on scholarship? ESPN said he's a walk-on, but seeing article coach could give him a scholarship. Robinson's what we call a preferred walk-on. He did get a scholarship because Duke had the extra scholarships available for him. But next year, if Duke does get a huge recruiting class, obviously they have 4 coming in right now. If they need more scholarships, they would pull his. He obviously, being David Robinson's son, has the money to pay. So when they have scholarships available, they will give him that scholarship. When they don't, then they will pull it and give it to a player that they need to give it to. Any other questions? You like Duke? You wanted them to win? Yeah, me too. The Kentucky game was a bit of a wake-up call for Duke fans who I think started to sort of believe the hype that every year they can get a class like the year before, and they would come in and completely just dominate. Well, the fact of the matter is Jaleel, Tyus, and also Justice Winslow, they all played together in USA basketball, so they sort of had a feel for each other's game. The class that we brought in this year, they didn't have that same camaraderie. They hadn't played together. So it's going to be a bit of a gelling process for these guys, and it's going to take a little while. Hopefully Duke fans will stick with the program and enjoy the ride. That's sort of important for these guys. All right. And hello to you, Ukraine. Any other questions? Knew Kentucky would lose being too cocky. Well, Kentucky's a strong team. They're led by a really good guard. Tyler Ulis is probably, between him and Chris Dunn, are the 2 best guards in the country right now. That was the one thing that had me sort of thinking Duke would really have a problem with that team. It's good guards that make the big guys much better, and hopefully by the the ACC season, Duke will have that in Derek Thornton as well. All right. Any other questions? Anything surrounding recruiting? Most likely Duke is done in the class. Obviously, we never know what's going to happen with Marcus Bolden. I don't think Duke is going to be in the running for him. I think he'll probably end up either at Kansas, possibly even Houston. All right. Well, again, next up for Duke is Yale. Hopefully we can get some guys off in that game. Preferably Ingram, Kennard, Thornton. Duke's going to depend on these freshmen a lot this year, and hopefully they come through for us. All right, with that, we'll end it, and thanks everybody for joining my first one of the season. Hi, Incognito. All right, see you, y'all.